Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, I am Ron, and this is Ron's Computer Videos, but this is a very special video that we're doing this evening in celebration of December, which is the month every year that is dedicated to all cool things MS-DOS in the retro gaming community. How about we take a second and just go around and do some brief introductions, and then we'll talk to our friends in chat. Mr. Mike.
Hello, everybody.
Uncle Mr.
Mike here from Uncle Mike Retro. I like to go out and scrap old computers that I find at my local junkyard. And occasionally I put out a longer video. But again, I am purely a retro scrapper. And I'm pleased to be here, Ron. Thanks for the invite tonight.
Hello, I'm Amber from Tech Ambrosia, and I do all kinds of retro tech all over the retro tech spectrum, including some maybe not so retro stuff you may have seen recently. But I'm very happy to be here with Ron and here for December.
Good evening. I'm Rick from Rick's Random Retro. You must see me stream every week, but I like a lot of random retro things. There's DOS stuff, there's mid-90s stuff, there's early 2000 stuff, and console stuff. Just literally to random, whatever my ADHD brain comes up with each week. So thanks for the invite.
I'm Trina from Trina's Technobabble. I do everything from retro to current. I plan on streaming soon a desktop build, so yay. But you can, yeah. Thanks for inviting me, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Britt. I collect Apple stuff, Amiga stuff, PC stuff, and I work with Linux every day as a SRE DevOps guy. So I just love, messing around with old technology and new technology. Grew up with DOS ever since I was like 5 or 6. So, and thank you for having me on the show, Ron.
Hi, I'm Justin D. Morgan, host of Computerized Start on YouTube. Does the D in my middle name stand for DOS? Well, that's for me to know, and you to hopefully not find out. But in December, maybe it just as well be DOS.
Hi, I'm Jeremy from Jeremy's Retro Bar on YouTube, and I'm kind of all over the spectrum with different retro things from PCs to Macs to Japanese computers.
I am Nathan from Pixel Pipes, and I like 3D accelerators. What am I even doing here? No, no, I appreciate the invite. Yeah, it's fun to talk about something that I don't usually delve into, or bluntly even really know that much about. But yeah, happy to get into it.
I'm Eric from Eric's Edge. I actually got into gaming long before computers came out. So I guess I'm the elder member of the group. Anyway, so I've got a YouTube channel, Eric's Edge Videos. I also have on Twitter, and I'm on Mastodon, and you can pretty much find me just about anywhere on somebody else's stream, mostly. I'm also doing a HyperCard series that's going to take me about 10 years to finish.
I'm there for it, Eric.
Yeah.
Sounds
we're going
right.
to have at least Ron will be there for the ending.
Mm-hmm.
So when I die.
I was going to say, will you survive those next 10 years?
Well, the last episodes might be me babbling even more than I babble now.
Oh dear God.
Anyway.
It's gonna be like Schenectady, New York, or it's gonna be like trying to map out France using triangles. Either way, some descendant of Eric's is gonna get this done.
Something.
All right, let's take a second. Let's say hi to all the beautiful people in chat. Dave from Dave's Vintage Apple Tech is here. Hey, don't forget he does a stream. Normally goes 6 or 8 hours on Sundays, where people just kind of drop in and work on fun things that they're doing. You'll probably see the next person I'm going to say, Adam, from Adam's Apple. He's got a cool Apple II channel you should definitely check out. One Bit Fever Dreams is here. Hey, Garth Beagle. He's the guy that's single-handedly supplying me with Quadra 605 computers. Good to see you, Garth. Catherine is here. Big Bad Biologist is here. Definitely check out his channel. He did kind of a cool video recently where it's kind of one of those things where you watch it and then like something happened and then it was like a recovery from that, and it very much highlights kind of how troubleshooting and stuff like that works in this hobby. It's a lot of fun. Let's see who scrolling. JVHS is here. Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack. I should check his channel out as well. Kate, the Macintosh Librarian, is here. Kate actually had something on her Patreon the other day about printing new little Mackies and Apple IIs and little kind of channel bonus items. If you have not seen all that, check that out. And scrolling. And Francois. Francois. Plop. Thanks for joining.
Hello, Francois.
Yes. So, okay. Hey, why are we here this evening? I thought it would be fun to maybe talk to some of my friends about neat things that are happening this month with December. And when I think like DOS stuff in my brain, I'm not thinking Lotus 123. I'm not thinking D-Base 4.
There goes my present.
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
Sorry. So if you had a 20-minute demonstration of running QEMM on a machine, I mean, I'll watch it, but
I'm so disappointed, Ron. You ruined the evening for me. This also weighs like 20 pounds. I'm like,
yeah.
So.
Well, once the Lotus 123 kind of gaming community catches up to the Excel gaming community, we'll feature it. But until then, I just thought it would be fun to talk about cool DOS games, kind of from all of our collective past, and just sort of share those things, because more and more people are getting into this hobby. And people are converting like old thin clients and stuff to be like little DOS gaming PCs. If it's got a PCI slot in it, they're throwing like a Voodoo card or whatever. Uncle Mike here is kind of one of the things his channel's famous for is like the PC recycling. And so there are more and more people that are going and saving this old equipment from the gold collectors. And just turning it back into fun things and kind of reliving those days. So I thought it'd be like a lot of fun to just all get together and talk about just some of the fun stuff from the past. So, how about I try my best? I wish it would. Oh, Windows 11. Am I right?
What's the Windows 11?
Well, it's
what's Windows? This is December.
Yeah, aren't you streaming from DOS?
Actually, but to be fair, up until Windows NT, Windows RAN was basically a GUI on top of a DOS.
On top of.
Yeah.
Right, not in
But it was
place of.
still DOS was still the main backbone of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
kind of what is Windows? It's DOS, but
Absolutely.
It's a very fancy file explorer.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a hell of a DOS shell, that's for sure.
Drake's got it right there in the chat. DOS rules, Windows drools.
No, it's true. It's true. All right. I'm going to go through and I wanted to share my 5. And then I thought we'd also maybe talk about some other germane kind of things for retro computing and maybe even DOS and all that. So the idea was I asked everybody to put together kind of a list of like 5 DOS games that you really enjoy. If you can play them today, hey, that's even better. So I mean, there's great stuff. Like there's what is that program? Oh my gosh, my brain just blanked out, but it's
DOSBox.
DOSBox.
Yeah.
That does all manner of like it just like it's turnkey. It's so great. And I saw there's like a DOSBox X or something, like another version that even has like sort of 3DFX support. So it's Voodoo 1 kind of stuff. Pretty cool. Anyway, let's get to it. We're 12 minutes in. And I'm wasting time. Okay. So let me share my screen. All right, here we are. Granted, this is not a DOS game per se, but there does not seem to be in 2022 an easy way to buy my first selection, which is The Secret of Monkey Island. I remember the first time I played this, I just thought that this was the best game. A friend of mine had a ad-lib card, and the music I thought was really, really awesome. So kind of what you can do with this on the special edition is you can actually hit like a toggle while you're playing, and it will switch it to kind of the DOS version of Monkey Island with kind of ad-lib era sound and things like that. So it's pretty neat. I know this game has been worked over like a million times. Like it didn't have voice narration for a long time, and then they kind of added that later with like the CD releases and all of that. But it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I think it's one of LucasArts' best games. For my second pick, I picked the Jill of the Jungle series, which you can still get and actually play through DOSBox X over on GOG, and it's free right now. So why would you not play it? Jill of the Jungle is kind of like a cool DOS platformer. I'm glad they didn't skimp on the thumbnail here. That's even better.
That is original size.
Yeah, they're showing it 1-to-1, folks. But it's actually quite a bit of fun. It's kind of like a platformer, kind of like as a competitor to Commander Keen and all the stuff that ID was doing at the time. Ethernet, I guess. But it's a lot of fun, and it's actually, when you get to the end of it, she's actually trying to like rescue her boyfriend, who's kind of like an Indiana Jones type. And there's, I think, like 3 chapters of it. I went through and I did a video where I actually did a let's play of it. It's actually quite a fun game, and it still holds up, I think, today. And again, for free, it's worth your time. Another game that I spent a lot of time playing is Epic Pinball, which was kind of one of the better DOS pinball titles that came out. Like the Super Android table is probably like the best. I know that a lot of these games are on abandonware sites, so I mean, I guess you could seek them out like that. And then if you were interested, you can pick them up. I think Epic Pinball has like 10 or 12 tables. I did a playthrough on this on my channel a while back as well. They're gonna talk about FPS games for DOS. I'm gonna bring up one of the Doom clones, which Blood, which you seemingly cannot buy the DOS version in 2022, just because I guess with the company being bought out, the original developer, it's like the rights are kind of tied up right now. But like in 2019 or 2020, they released this kind of upgraded kind of version of it, but it's basically like a loving remake of the original game, but for kind of like modern PCs. And it's actually kind of fun, and it's kind of a horror comedy game. So which was kind of fresh, and it kind of like comes on the heels of there was like a samurai based kind of one of those games that I can't remember what it's called right now, but it was
Shadow Warrior,
where it's all like one-liners and pop culture references. Yeah. And this game is that. So it kind of is like a Duke Nukem-esque kind of game. And I think it uses the original version uses the build engine, sort of like Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a fun one. And they even made a sequel that came out for Windows. It's terrible. Don't buy that one.
Yeah, Blood 2 is bad.
Yeah, it's great. It is. And then I would say that for my fifth pick would be the Alone in the Dark series. Ooh. And for $1.19, you can't really beat it. But
No, you
and
can't
this,
beat it because it's brutal.
oh yeah, it's brutally hard.
Ah.
We wouldn't have the Resident Evil games if we didn't have the Alone in the Dark series.
Tank controls and all.
Yes, tank controls and all.
Has anyone actually? I just want to hear from chat or the group here. Has anyone actually beaten any of these?
I beat the first one.
Liar. Anyone else?
No. I played it so many times, and it came out when I was like in high school. So you would go and you would talk to other people at school and be like, "What am I supposed to do with these stupid statues?" Oh, you put the mirror up. Oh, okay, great. Spoilers. For like a 30-year-old game. But you, oh yeah, they look at themselves and they die, and you can go down the stairs and not get lasered. Oh, that's great. So I did a playthrough on I played through a bit of this like on my kind of my Mac-a-Lantern streams this year. So I think it's a fun game, and it's it's like 100% tank controls and kind of bad gameplay and poor hit like collision detection and all that. So anyway, it's worth checking out for $1.19. And then my other pick, which is sort of a I love this game, so it's my bonus pick, would be Prince of Persia, which everybody is familiar with this game. I don't have to tell you anything about this game, but
Classic.
what I will tell you is that it appears to be free in the Windows Store, and it does appear to be the actual DOS version.
Wow.
And it does appear to include Prince of Persia 2 and some of the community modifications for the game to like fix frame rate and things like that. I would tell you that this is probably great, but I don't have a Windows Store account, and I don't see myself creating one. A Microsoft account, I don't see myself creating one. So I will have to just live vicariously through other people. But those are my 5+1 picks.
Nice.
Nice
Some real
selection.
classics.
Yeah, I liked it. And if there's
Yeah.
overlap on your guys' stuff, that's okay. If everybody says Wolf 3D, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, Ron. Well, if you don't mind, let's see if I can get this right.
Sure. And I'm going to be recording everybody's things, so that way, if folks watching at home, if you come back later and check out the doobly-doo, it'll have links to, or at least it'll have the list, the name of the person that recommended it, and then the names. So,
All right. I'll start my journey with.
Whoa, we're all
with
taking a
us
journey.
being stuck into the keyhole of time.
Is that better?
That's great.
So, second to Eric, I'm the second most vintage person on the Retro DOS talk tonight. And I'm going to start out with Flight Simulator 2 back from 1984. And this is the game that got me interested in letting the Atari 2600 go and getting into actual computer gaming. It is very rough, but it is a classic nonetheless. So, Flight Sim 2, that's my starting point here. And my dad was a pilot when I was growing up, so it kind of hit home with me. He would stand there and watch me mesmerized, even though he actually flew an airplane. Second.
Mike, before you go to your second one, go back to your first tab, if you would, please.
Yeah, sure.
I was just kind of curious. The grandma who was attacked outside a store in Sheffield, was it because she was a Specky user? It was a Commodore 64 person? Like, I'm not having any of this. How about you?
You gotta love abandonware, the abandonware site for all the ads. So you'll know what my wife's been shopping for eventually.
Oh,
She was attacked because she didn't buy New Balance shoes. She had old shoes on.
Well, if anyone
She
needs
couldn't run
dental
away.
implants, we can get those too. Second on the list, and in the chat, some of the folks in the chat were talking about the Ultima series. Ultima 3 was the one and only Ultima game that I actually completed. Solved the puzzles and completed it without cheating or anything like that. And that's a 1985 game. So I'm progressing here. I'm in high school. I was a junior this year, and back in 1985, and playing Ultima 3 Exodus. Actually, I think as far as Ultima games go, this is the one that has the best puzzle solving. That's just my opinion there. And we can click on overrated movies when we're all done if we like. Second, I'm getting into some 4X games, Explore, a lot. I forget what the X's stand for. Starflight 2, a Trade Routes of the Cloud Nebula. And that came out in 1989. And that's a classic space flight adventure game. Solve the puzzles, explore the galaxy, interact with aliens. Plays very well on even a 486 nowadays. Fourth, I'm getting into Master of Magic, and that's 1994. And this is a classic. It came out after Civilization, and it plays and maps the same, but it deals with magic and fantasy creatures and wizards. And the neat thing about this game is you have 3 levels of the world that you can play in. So there's an underground, an ethereal, and a normal portion to the world. And I know a lot of people, actually, someone was talking about this on Twitter just yesterday about it being one of their favorite DOS games for December.
Wow.
And fifth of all, we're getting into the absolute DOS classic, XCOM UFO Defense. And I'm sure, holy cow, look at these pop-ups. I'm sure we all remember XCOM UFO Defense. Another game that I actually finished myself. And actually finishing these games, unlike modern games, which after a while I kind of peter out on, that's sort of what brings me back to these even now, is the fact that I actually finished them. And just they had such replayability for me, these older games. It's just hard to quantify just how neat these actually are. So those are my 5 games, Ron.
Awesome. Very cool. Would you say, if you had to pick a favorite of your games, which one would you say that you have dumped the most time into?
Master of Magic.
Oh, really? Okay.
I still play it in DOSBox. Actually, I played it in DOSBox until we did our 486 build-off competition, and I actually managed not to keep touching it. So it actually still works and is up and running. And I actually have an ongoing game of Master of Magic on my 486. So that would be my pick of picks.
Very
Nice. Cool. I also put a lot of hours into Master of Magic back in the day.
Thumbs up for that.
Great game. Great game. All right, so it's my turn. Present. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, there we go. You can select the window. Let's do that one. Okay. Can you all see my Google Doc?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Number 5, and I'm probably going to, I love you all. I'm probably going to make some enemies here, but number 5, Rise of the Triad.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody who's like, why is it number 5? It's on the list. This is the top 5, my favorite DOS games. Number 5, Rise of the Triad. It's on here because absolutely killer soundtrack. Runs great on a 486. You don't need anything fancy to run it. The multiplayer, some of the best I've ever had in a DOS game and an FPS. The power-ups are ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
What other games do you get that have God mode that tower you over the battlefield, or dog mode? Come on. Also, I've never beaten it because it's really frickin' hard. It's really hard. It's available on GOG right now. Let's see if I can get this to actually go to the link.
And isn't this one of
Rise to the occasion? Sorry.
Yeah.
Heyo.
It's on sale for
59
60 cents. Come on, you can't say no to that.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a good game.
It's one of the very first kind of one of those FPS games that were like, oh, you could play as a certain, didn't you pick the person
you had classes?
Yeah.
There's very small differences between one person has more health, another person runs faster, stuff like that. It wasn't super big differences between the classes, but yes, you had classes of characters you could play, and it was permadeath. If you died as one of those characters, you couldn't go back into the game as them until you started a brand new game.
Yeah.
Yeah. it was a good time. So that's my number 5. So number 4, Dungeon Master 2.
Oh yeah.
Anybody remember the original Dungeon Master?
I
It
never
launched.
played 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Link
original one
to-
was on. I think it launched on the ST in like 1988 or something. 87. It was a lot earlier than you think it was. But it like revolutionized the cardinal direction, dungeon crawler game, because it was all in color. There's really good art, and it had stereo sound, and you could hear those monsters moving around when you weren't, when you're digging through your bag. You could hear the mummy walking up behind you. A Dungeon Master 2 picks up on that. I'd say it's probably the high watermark in this genre of pseudo 3D cardinal direction dungeon crawlers. It's probably arguable. Like Eye of the Beholder is pretty good. There are some other really excellent examples. Ultima, of course, was one of the first, and it remained a very good dungeon crawler. Of course, there was all the rest of the Ultima game around the dungeons. This is just dungeon crawling. But one of the things I really liked about it is that they added a trade system to Dungeon Master 2, which wasn't this wasn't a revolutionary thing. Trade systems that had existed in other dungeon crawlers, but instead of like walking up to like the blacksmith's door and clicking on it and getting a 2D interface for your blacksmith, you actually go into the blacksmith, and there's a trade table there set up, and you do your trading in the engine. You never leave the engine to do it. And that was kind of a hallmark for the series, is just to keep you immersed in the world as much as possible. And I think it succeeded. I really liked it. It also added some outdoor areas. You can kind of see this in the title screen here. That is what the outdoor areas look like. You've got a skybox, and then you've got some transparent pseudo 3D elements that make it look like you're outside. It works pretty well. And the spellcasting system in this has always been amazing, because you assemble your spells by clicking on different symbols, and you can put together gibberish spells, or you can put together spells you've never heard of. And it depends on whether, when you hit cast, if it works or not. So this is definitely one of those games where you're best served to play it if you also have a notepad with you. Write down what you just did. Did it work? No. Okay, we'll not do that one again. But this is, I poured so many hours in the Dungeon Master 2. This is the one I actually beat. I never beat the first one. Something to do with its moon logic, where you have to like go back a couple of levels and put a thing in a place in order to make the boss vulnerable or whatever. Never figured that one out. I did manage to beat Dungeon Master 2 because it's much more simple. You just get to the get to the end boss, kill him, you're done.
Very
Anyway.
straightforward.
Yeah, it's this, as far as I could tell, as far as I could find, this one is not available on GOG or anything that I can see. So I found it on like My Abandonware. Hopefully at some point they do, because like this is a fun game. It's a good one to play. Anyway, number 3, the first, Heroes of Might and Magic. I know everybody probably has a soft spot in their heart for Heroes 3. Not actually a DOS game, it's a Windows game. Heroes 2 is not bad. I prefer Heroes of Might and Magic 1 because the battlefields are a little bit smaller. If you don't know what Heroes of Might and Magic is, it is a strategy RPG. So you rock around a world map, collecting bits of treasure, unlocking areas, recruiting armies, and then you go into battle, which is, do they have a battle screenshot in here? Yes. And you go into battle, and you've got your armies on the left and your enemy armies on the right, and you try and destroy each other. And each army has its own specific quirks, if it's ranged or melee or a magic user, how tough it is, how much damage it deals. It sort of boils down a little bit to a numbers game. That's like the second and third entries in the series. The AI is just really, really punishing because it can do the math that you can't do. So it is going to kill you. Part of the reason I like the first one is it's a little more forgiving. You have more of a chance of actually completing this game. And also because these battle areas. This is actually there's a hidden hex grid on here for where everyone can move to, and this grid is a little smaller in the first one, which means that your army art is a little larger and more detailed. I think that adds something to it because that's basically the game, is accumulating armies and bringing them along with you. So that is my pick for number 3. It's also a lot easier to run than 2 or especially 3. 3 needs a pretty beefy Windows 95 machine to run. It's number 2, the good old Quake.
Yes.
Of course, Quake's going to be in here. Reasons I like Quake. Number 1, nail guns.
Yeah.
How many other first-person shooters have nail guns? I mean, let's be honest.
And they were 9 inches.
They're 9 inches, and there's even a super nail gun. One wasn't enough. Yeah, obviously, Quake was revolutionary when it came out in 1996. Unmatched atmosphere. I mean, having, had this moody lighting provided by the new light maps and the perspective correct textures. Just unbelievable. Of course, killer soundtrack by Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails. And the 2 reasons that I really like Quake, though, and the 2 reasons that I played it so much when I was younger and still play it today, are the mods. Like, there's apparently a thing in the TF2 community nowadays, I think called surfing, where you hop onto specially crafted maps with a mod and you slide down them as if you're surfing the geometry. Quake did that 20 years earlier with Slide. If you ever played the Slide mod for Quake, phenomenal. You hop on a hoverboard, you can slide through the geometry at breakneck speeds. Completely different game than regular Quake. Or Quake Rally, if anyone's ever played Quake Rally. Just, you have a full-fledged rally racing game with car physics, collision detection, kind of janky steering, but it's a multiplayer car racing game in Quake. Love it. And then, of course, Quake coming out in 1996 was at the forefront of early machinima because you had this powerful modding engine. I forget who wrote it, but the key grip mod, which allowed you to basically integrate camera controls into your keybinds so that you could have one person who is basically operating the main camera and have everyone else in the game as actors. And you could act out your own episodes. Like, it was the very start of consumer-oriented filmmaking. Machinima was awesome, and it started with Quake, and it was great. So that's my number 2, Quake. So you're probably wondering what my number 1 would be if number 2 is Quake.
I can't wait.
Number 1, Descent.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
yeah, definitely.
Good old Descent. I loved Descent. I probably put the most hours of a DOS game into Descent. I just loved it. 1, I had a Cyrix 133, so it actually ran well on my computer, where Quake did not.
Would you say that it ran decent?
It ran decent. Yeah. Descent ran decent. But this was a really cool game. I think it doesn't get enough credit in the gaming community. It was a portal-based renderer in 1994. It runs real fast. A fast 486 is all you need to play it well. And in my case, running it on a 6x86, it basically was flawless 75 FPS in DOS the whole time. Wonderful, wonderful MIDI soundtrack. I still love the soundtrack. I've got I don't know if you can see it, but I've got my permanent slot 1 build is coming together over there. And I've specifically chosen an E-Wave wavetable just because it sounds the best in Descent. But the multiplayer is really great. I spent so many hours playing multiplayer Descent back in the day. It was so good. It was so good. And of course, the thing that everyone commented on it was this weird 6-axis gameplay that just made you vomit. And if it didn't make you vomit, it was pretty unique. I liked it a lot. You couldn't get it anywhere else.
It was a game you could only play when you were young.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Descent though, was one of those games that when you had a glide card and, like you said, a slot one system, it was butter. That game really ran well. Just
Yeah,
classic.
I missed it completely because the first time I had a Voodoo card was my Voodoo Banshee and K62, and at that point, your Descent was old news. Who wants to play
Right.
Descent anymore, right?
It's true.
Don't worry, kid. In 20 years, you'll want to play it again.
And actually, an S3 Verge runs it pretty well too. It's one of the few games that runs well on that card.
I'll have to try that. I will have to try that. I've got plenty of S3 Verges.
Don't, but you know. Don't. I did a stream for the S3 Verge specifically, and we did stream Descent in there, and I agree it was by far the smoothest one on there. But I mean, it's a Verge.
I guess that's a relative.
Yeah, exactly.
A relative thing.
I mean, 20 FPS is incredible for a Verge.
And it's funny too because I added that I did that at the end of the stream, and it felt super smooth because of it. Quake at what was it, 8, 9 FPS or something like that, turned out to low setting, and then Descent at 20. It's like, wow.
High refresh monitor enabled.
So, segue into that then. I have to mention one thing first. So my wife and daughter were watching a stream a little earlier, and they asked if Eric was Santa. So
Actually,
no pressure.
He's a wrestler. He's actually Santos.
I'm one of his helpers.
This just in. Santa uses HyperCard.
Anyway.
I'm checking my stack. I'm checking it twice.
That may be the nerdiest joke tonight, I think.
I love it.
Yep. All right. Anyway, so just to set the stage a little bit of the my selection of games, and I will say I cannot possibly rank these. That's near impossible. It's very hard just to pick 5 to begin with. I think all of us struggle with that, but I ended up being some of the ones that were formative for me or that I spent a lot of time on. All these games I spent a ton of time in. And I didn't get into DOS really until the tail end. I am what you call a geriatric millennial. So I didn't get into DOS until the mid-90s, right? So the 486/Pentium era is when I really got into DOS. So that gives you an idea or ballpark here now. So let's see if I can percent as well. Share screen. Let's see. Window. First try. Come on. First try.
Hey.
Hey, we're using Edge because I'm not signed into Edge, so I don't get all my stuff here. Anyway, I do have the big boxes for all these games. These are the games the games we're talking about are the ones I actually played. These literal boxes, and the first one has to be Crusader No Remorse.
Oh my God, yes.
It is a isometric action shooter game made by Origin. So we're talking very late DOS here now, but it was for me very new. I had not played a game that was so smooth with such production quality. There's FMV videos. There's a full motion video, not FMV video.
We'll just check your electronic email and we'll figure it out.
Yes, exactly. It has.
Don't forget to stop by the ATM machine.
I brought that on myself, didn't I?
This is cool.
Yeah, it holds up really well today. I will say that it has very detailed environments. There's tons of interactivity. You can, read computer terminals. You can activate door switches. You got to watch out for mines. You have inventory items. You have tons of weapons, full SVGA graphics. It really was, for me, as far as an action game, a cut above the rest. And I got really engrossed in the environment and the storytelling. And it has a really, it's like evil corporation, evil. You change your mind, you're going to blow everyone up. Great. But it has also a home-based mission in between every mission where you go and talk to the resistance you're part of and you can buy weapons. Kind of like a staple of some action games these days. You have like a slow section in between the action levels. And this did that in 1990, I want to say 95 or 94. Somewhere around there. But it is really fun. I will say the biggest thing against it is the fact that the animations are really cool, but they have to play out. So when you execute a command to move the character you're playing, which is a silencer, dressed in all bright red, he will execute that command until it is done. So if you execute a roll, that roll will finish regardless how many people are shooting at you. But it has fantastic graphics, amazing mod-based music. I would encourage you to look up the intro song or the title select screen for this game because it is like my favorite title select screen of any game ever. It's that good. We used to put that on. My cousin and I would put that on in one room and we'd dance around and think we're really cool. We were not, in fact, cool, but we could dream. But it is a fantastic game that still holds up really well today, I would say. You can play this on GOG today. It is a series that unfortunately died out. It got one sequel, then it ended up in licensing hell. There was a talk about a remake for the PSP of all things a few years back, but it died out, sadly. And it's one of those, it's in limbo now because I don't even know who owns it anymore. It was Origin, bought by EA, of course, when they were chopped up. That is my pick one. Fantastic game, and it's still absolutely one of my top games. For the next one, let's go with another one I spent a crap load of time on. And that is Transport Tycoon.
Yeah.
This is a business management sim where you are laying railroad, you're building roads and managing your transport empire. And it's one of those games that you can spend hours and hours and hours just optimizing your routes and everything. This is actually the first PC game I got. This was for Christmas of 1994 before I had a computer. I didn't get a computer until a few months later, so I poured through the manual and looked through this nice box. This is the original box. The floppies do not work anymore because I used them so much.
Rick, I don't want to tell you anything, but it clearly says January of 1930, so maybe you are the oldest person here, and you've been hiding it.
A gentleman never asks.
Works for me.
Yep. Roller Coaster Tycoon then is the brainchild of Chris Sawyer of Roller Coaster Tycoon fame, as you may have heard of that game a couple times. It's the same engine, so if you play that game, this seems very familiar. You may notice there's a pattern here. I like isometric games a lot. I don't know, the watching the little detail from a high above, it speaks to me, so that's still something that's really appealing. But this is one of those games that you can just, the hours disappear quickly because I'm just gonna get enough money to buy this one boat. Okay, now I'm just gonna build this one railroad, and the birds are singing outside the window again, right? You don't even notice it's happening. It's very engrossing, still works great today. And a pro tip is that there's an open version of this game now called Open TTD, which stands for Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It is free to play, fully open source, and it plays on every modern machine you can imagine. It's been ported to everything. And that is a great way to play this game today with a lot of enhancements and kind of fan mods and everything. But it is a game that just, like many of these like little builder games or city builder / management sims like this, the hours do not matter. There's always one more thing to do, and it has a terrific MIDI soundtrack with like smooth jazz and stuff that gets very amplified by the SC55 or any MIDI module you can imagine. So a really, really good game. Endless amount of hours. We're going to hang around in this time period for almost all my games here, or all my games are in this time period, because this is where I got my formative years of playing DOS games. So deal with it. The next one, we're getting into the CD-ROM time, and these are not in chronological order, just the order that my tabs are in my browser. So that's what we're going with. The next one is Full Throttle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
This is
So
the European
good.
box. I believe the US box was sideways, but the European box, because all games are European, because that's where I grew up. Full Throttle is another one of LucasArts' amazing point-and-click adventure games, following the biker Ben on his quest to restore honor to his gang. This is the heyday of LucasArts adventure games. And we had Day of the Tentacle just before this. I can't even remember all the ones. I'm blanking now, but there were so many point-and-click adventure games from LucasArts. Full Throttle is a short but extremely sweet game. There is no filler all killer in this one, except maybe some of the vehicular sections, which can be really frustrating.
Yeah, the combat.
You can blow through this game in 5-6 hours or less, even, I think, if you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know anything in the game, I think you can beat this in a few hours. It's pretty short, which is disappointing, but it is amazing all the way through. And as we can see, an amazing pause menu.
Yes.
It's like playing a movie. It's like
Yeah.
a little movie.
It is.
Yeah.
The animation is phenomenal, too.
And
so.
very much like Sam and Max Hit the Road, they did
Mhm.
away with the you think about that little bar at the bottom that
Mhm.
like Day of the Tentacle has, or a lot of the older LucasArts titles, and it becomes that like when you right click that it's that like thing, and it's like
Mhm.
and there's like a tongue or like a fist and a like
and he always
action,
responds to
very
what you do.
action.
Yeah, you can try. And he's like, I'm not putting my mouth on that. When you use the mouth on like, whatever. Or there's a section where you knock on the door with your hand and the guy walks up to the door. Well, then you have to use the boot on the door and he kicks the door in while he's standing there. And that was very streamlined because compared to the earlier point-and-click adventure games that had a verb list, Simon the Sorcerer comes to mind, where it's extremely specific on which things you have to pick.
Yeah.
There's one puzzle in the game there that you have to wear dog, and he uses magic to transform the dog. And you never figure that out. But in this game, you have, 4 or 5 commands to do. It's very streamlined, very smooth. And I think it's just kind of that perfect convergence of point-and-click adventure games that we saw at the end of LucasArts when they were cranking out all these gems.
This game has the least amount of moon logic of any LucasArts game.
Yes. It's very real world-ish, if that makes sense for this one. Like,
amazing voice acting. Well.
I'm not putting my lips on that.
Is it Mark Hamill great in this game too?
Yes.
He plays the bad guy.
I'm doing the thing you don't understand, Lukey.
He plays like 4 or 5 different characters, I think, but it's fully voiced. It's I love. Yeah, it is amazing, this game, and it's got one of those like it's multimedia, but before it turned into FMV everywhere, hand drawn, gorgeous art. Definitely one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games. All the LucasArts ones from that era are great, but this one stands out to me. Maybe I thought it was as badass as Ben, but I was not. All right, moving on. We will go with a shooter, also from that same era, and that is Star Wars Dark Forces.
Yes.
Imperial Scum. So Doom, I got Doom 2 was my first game next to Transport Tycoon. I got it on the same Christmas, and I love Doom 2. I love Doom. Something about the nerd in me being inside the Star Wars universe was just unthinkable for me. Like, to see these things happening live in front of me and blasting everyone and hearing the stormtroopers react when you shot them and all that stuff, it was just on another level. And LucasArts, this game has such high production quality. The voices or the sound effects, it looks right. It looks a little rough now with today's standards, but for me at the time, I was just my little poor mind was blown away by the detail in this game. You were playing a Star Wars game. I had played other games before that, Star Wars games, and they had skirted on some of these cutscenes and stuff like that with X-Wing and TIE Fighter and those games, but this put you in the first person of one guy, of course, a one-man army. They glance over the fact that he has killed like 400 soldiers by the end of the game, but anyway. It has an engrossing story, a very scary enemy you fight. I nearly screamed when I saw the Dark Trooper the first time come around the bend. And it's an unkillable robot, of course, and it's always scary. But I just got sucked into this world. And this is the first game that Kyle Katarn, great name, by the way, got introduced. And, of course, he is a protagonist in many of the subsequent Star Wars games, and this is where he started. This one plays pretty well today, I would say. And you look at how many, first-person shooter tropes are in this game. Feels like to me, and I'm just thinking out loud, but one of the first ones that did a lot of the things. Like Doom was very much like you're in an industrial hallway, you shoot things and they die. There's more puzzles here, and yes, a sewer level. Bless that sewer level. That is probably the worst sewer level made in any game, but you still got to power through it if you want to experience the whole Star Wars thing. It's still a amazing game to this day. I think this one you can get on Steam and anywhere now. It's been ported to anything modern too. Interesting note as well, if you play this on a Mac, it has a higher resolution than the DOS version, which is interesting because it doesn't support that DOS mode. So I played this one a ton. This is one of the few games I played all the way through, and I played it on my poor 486-33. So I had the small viewfinder to see. This is a game that is definitely comfortable on a upper range 486 or above all a Pentium machine.
It was surprisingly well put together for a Doom clone. So many of the Doom clones back then were just kind of shovelware.
Yep.
This was really good. Smooth controls. Yeah.
Music, smooth controls.
No Captain Crunch attack the soggy, but still.
Yeah. I do have the Chex Quest big box from Limited Run Games behind me, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
So I spent a lot of time in this one. I actually beat it. Another game I spent a lot of time in. There's a theme here with the games I like. I think that the well put together, like high production quality of a lot of the late DOS games really appealed to me. And that's going to be, once I can find the right tab and window, the original Command & Conquer.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have that. Mechanical Man.
So good.
Yeah, and like all the other games from this era here that I really enjoyed, it had FMVs, it had a engrossing story, it had everything going for it. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Got that going for
I
it.
see a Photoshop opportunity
One.
right
Yeah.
there.
I would encourage everyone to go look at the Command & Conquer intro. Please do. This, you know what? I should not say anything else about the game right now.
Yeah,
We're
that's
gonna leave
it.
here.
This sums it up, really.
Yeah, really
Yep.
well.
Channel 56, I'm just
Yep.
saying.
So anyway, it has they're flipping channels in the beginning, and you run
Mhm.
into that. But it is a real-time strategy game, and arguably the blueprint for, at the time, the modern real-time strategy game. Before this, we'd had several other games that were similar to it. Dune 2 comes to mind, of course, but it had a very janky like movement system. Anything you see in an RTS today probably owes a lot of its mechanics to this one. It has drag select, you have control groups, you have a build menu. It is very streamlined, and it feels like a very well put together product. The Westwood is at its ace right here now too when they're making this game. And I believe the story was that they did not want to make another Dune game because they were tired of making sand tiles for their game. So they set it in the near future with military, and that appealed to me at the time. I was into military hardware, so this was fascinating. But you have a map select screen, you have branching pathways, FMVs, or full motion videos, like we like to call them
Yes.
in the
Mhm.
industry. Complete.
Brian Pochon.
Mhm. Two complete different campaigns on two different discs. So once you play through the game the entire time, if through away, you could play it as the other, or the bad guys, if you will,
Mhm.
or the good guys, whichever you started with first. And the quality is held up through the entire way. And this is one that still plays well today. I will say there's a fantastic remastered edition of this now that's super cheap. It includes Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Red Alert. Well worth your time. Lots of behind-the-scenes goodies from the first games. And this set me on a path to enjoy a lot of RTSs. Now, Warcraft 2 was very similar in time frame to this, but I think this one was first, and it arguably had a bigger impact, at least in the beginning. But just such high production quality all the way through. It felt awesome. An amazing soundtrack by Frank Klepacki, industrial rock. I still listen to that, and the remastered version of that soundtrack is phenomenal to this day. But that will be the games that, if I can find the right thing to stop, my 5, at least 5 of the ones I like best.
Very cool.
Classics. Absolute classics.
Mhm. Trina.
Trina. Oh, me. All right. Let me see here. Where is share screen? Oh, present. Look at that. And it's been so interesting to watch all you people share your screens, and all I can think of is install an ad blocker.
Yes. Yes.
Please.
If anybody needs a recommendation, that uBlock Origin, pretty great.
I'm going to set up a Pi hole. I'm going to do a video about it, setting it up on a thin client because Raspberry Pis are so expensive right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Hey, there's us.
There's us, yeah. So I'm gonna kind of go. My gaming history within DOS is kind of a weird one. It started with a friend of mine. My parents had bought a Windows 3.1 machine, which I told Mom we had to get a computer with both floppy drives because floppies were the way of the future. If that dates me any. And a friend of mine down the road had this game, Star Trek the Kobayashi Alternative, which is a text-based game that can only be played off a floppy. You can't even copy the files over to a hard drive.
Oh.
It will
Wow.
not play it. It says you must insert a floppy.
Hmm.
And I still, back then, because this was obviously the days well before Google, I had no idea what I was doing. But you would go, and I would just start telling everybody to go F off, and then I'd get kicked out as captain. But there's a bowling alley you can play. You can actually bowl at on one of the floors, but you have to go through the ship and find out. You have to talk to the people and get them relocate because for some reason, it's apparently after the drunk episode where nobody knows where they should be and are all in wrong spots. So this was my first foray into DOS gaming. Yeah, it was this text-based game, but yeah, you just type and you go like, what is your rank? What is your, you have to type in and find out where the people belong. And again, Amber had mentioned this about having a notepad, and this is where a notepad really came in handy because you couldn't save. So if you turned off the game and you turned it back on, you had to go back through all X number of levels of the Starship Enterprise, the original one, and find out where all these people were to go. So you'd write it all down. So you just go, okay, you need to go to deck 4, this section, and so forth. And then I kind of got out of the gaming community for DOS. And it wasn't until I met someone at I'm originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And there's a group in Halifax, or was a group called the Halifax Computer and Gaming Club, which I joined. Yes, I'm that much of a geek. And in fact, I headed up the gaming section until we closed out the group. But I met somebody there who was running Caldera DR DOS 7.03, which he still refers to as modern DOS, even though it was released in 99. And so that's how I got back into doing DOS stuff. Because by that point I was mostly into repairing and working on Windows computers. And so it was through him that I got introduced to a couple of games. One of them is EGA Trek. That I think is supposed to be the Enterprise.
Mom, can we have a Enterprise? No, we have an Enterprise at home.
Enterprise at home.
But yeah, you just fly around and you shoot things. It's really pretty basic games.
It's so much better than CGA Trek. And it originally came out as Hercules Graphics Card Trek.
Yeah. And then of course the classic Quake. And I couldn't find a screenshot that was big enough to show it, so here's a Google image result of it. But the original Quake.
I think this gang though, its Quake is like permanently like tattooed on the back of your eyeballs. So
yes. But yeah, no, I agree that the nail gun is the way to go. I was sitting there listening to that going, yeah, great game. And I remember always using the axe to tink, tink, tink along the walls, which was always funny because they were stone, but it went tink. And yeah, trying to find those secrets in that game. But and then my next one would be Battle Chess. Which was a great game because I don't know anything about chess, but I just make the people fight and lose all the time because I had no idea what I was doing.
Classic.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then, of course, we have to go with the original Warcraft. Not World of Warcraft, Warcraft. Which I spent many of hours playing. Just loved doing it. Single player games against the computer. Yeah, there's a film base on this video game. I didn't even know that. Look at that.
No, don't look at that.
I think there's a lot of air quotes.
Forget that it exists.
Okay,
there is no Warcraft film.
Nope.
But yeah, I spent many hours, and I remember when they released Warcraft 2 for the PlayStation 2. You could actually do you could have the computer or the PlayStation create a random map, and those were a lot of fun to play. Just random map things. But yeah, I spent lots of time playing that.
Cool.
And then, of course, if you wanted to just sit there and like, because as I mentioned, I met somebody who was running Caldera DR DOS for his business. I ended up being his IT girl. Yay! So I learned a lot about DOS, including how to play Blackjack.
As you do.
And I'm
DOS
not
101, really.
right? I'm not even sure if this is the actual Blackjack game that we played, but yeah, it was a Blackjack game, and you would just bid. Off you go. Easy peasy. But yeah, it was a great game that you could just sit back and you could just, play an hour, and you could lose an hour in the blink of an eye just playing this game.
Mhm.
And then finally, it's kind of a non-DOS, but it was a Windows 98
yeah,
game called Chips Challenge.
Yeah.
Bummer. That's all I'm going to say. If anybody's ever played this game, bummer. You'll understand that.
Yeah.
But that was my last little game that I played was Chip Challenge, and now I just play World of Solitaire. But that's on my Mac, and that's really all I have.
Cool.
Just easy peasy. Because I didn't know we were supposed to come up with 5 games, so I just was like doing this on the fly. So, didn't really plan much to talk about on these, but yeah.
Cool.
And I'm also sitting beside. Hold on, I will stop sharing. Maybe stop sharing. There we go. And beside me on my desk is the Encyclopedia of DOS.
Oh.
Very,
Where's
very
the
thick.
where's the Blackjack section?
It's okay.
Hold on,
but
let me find out.
Trina, come back with the Karma Sutra of DOS, and I'll
The
be
Karma
impressed. You just,
Oh.
because I'm just saying, there's a lot of times when you're trying to get the memory mapping correct for your game, and you're like, you know what, DOS, you can go F yourself. So if they
But
have
in what kind of weird formation should you do it,
exactly,
right?
I don't.
You have high and low memory, expanded and
I gotta get my EMI or my
Expanded and
Lotus
extended.
memory going. Yeah.
Wait till you try int 22 or int 21 programming. That's don't ask me about it.
I'm good, thanks.
It's painful.
We've heard about your woes on that one.
All right, Justin, what do you got?
All right.
Blow us away.
Like Rick, I feel like a geriatric millennial.
Hey.
We did not have a family computer that could run MS-DOS until 1995, and it wasn't too long before it became a Windows 95 and 98, blah, blah, blah. So, and also, mom and dad didn't allow anything that was rated much past teens. So you might notice a trend with these games. But the good thing is, you can try these with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So my first game is actually one that was on floppy disks at the typing class in middle school. It is Castle Adventure. This thing will play on a PC Junior.
That's nice.
So, and you could actually download it. It's only 43K, so I'm sure you can find a floppy disk that it'll fit on. Yeah, completely text-based adventure game. And I don't know if I don't think I've beat it yet, so it's a little difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So moving right along, my second game is the Vulnerable Chex Quest. You should have known someone was going to mention it, because after all, it was rated teens, so it was playable. And hey, it came in the box of checks, so it was free back then too.
Well, you did have to choke down a box of checks.
Yes, we did have to choke down a box of checks.
So we never got that in Europe. I can only imagine like the mind-blowing effect on a child to get a full computer game in Chex box.
Full computer game, ran on the Doom engine, but you didn't shoot your enemies, you zorched them.
Yes.
Because, well, Chex can't be sponsoring a game where you shoot the enemies. That just wouldn't work. So you zorched them back to whatever dimension they came from. And apparently, you can download Chex Quest from WinWorld.
A classic.
The next game is Dune 2. And unfortunately, I could not find it for sale anywhere. I suspect there's probably licensing issues with it. This game goes for absurd amounts of money on eBay too. So
Mhm.
I would love to play it again, but I don't know if I will. But Dune 2 is on my list. I think there's like one screenshot here shown at actual realistic size. So if you're kind of there on the internet wondering why in the world is that screenshot so small, well, our monitors got so big. All right, the next one I have is the Need for Speed.
Nice.
Because what kid wouldn't like to be able to drive some of the absolute fastest cars out there, even though in some cases you're still several years away from having a learner's permit. But anyways, the Need for Speed, drive fast cars, pretty cool game. I think the Need for Speed Special Edition is also a DOS game. It added a couple extra levels. I think it added an extra car or two. But the Need for Speed, and it looks like you can download that one. And the last one in my top 5 is going to have to be Commander Keen 4, Secret of the Oracle. Because I remember having some good fun with this game. The cool thing is you can still buy it. You can actually buy the Commander Keen set on Steam for $5.
Yeah, dope fish.
Yes, the dope fish. So, which appears in several later ID Software titles as an Easter egg. And then, because I know some of you all are out there are like, okay, come on, we would like something that's not down at the teen rating or less. I've got 2 honorable mentions that I'd like to play, but I didn't play back in the day. And the first one is going to be Might and Magic World of Zine. I have to say the title screen on this looks very hilarious. I'm hoping it will work its way around here real quick to the obviously the spoof of the MGM Lions scene.
Yeah.
Where the dragon sprays the fly with bug killer spray instead of breathing on it with fire. I always thought that was completely hilarious about that game. So that's honorable mention number 1. And then honorable mention number 2 is a game that is highly regarded and is currently free. So you can go get it for free on Steam, and it would be the Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall.
Good old Daggerfall.
So you go check that one out. I've seen this as a classic game. I've played some of the other games in the Elder Scrolls series. So for December, if I might even have to try this. But anyways, those are my top 2 plus honorable mentions.
Watch out for that rat in the starting dungeon.
Elder Scrolls is a great drinking game. Take a drink every time it crashes or has a bug, and see if you can make it out alive.
Just to
Make
make
it out
a
of the
comment,
first dungeon alive.
Yep.
just to make a comment on the Need for Speed game, you said some of us were for a few years away from getting our driver's license. That didn't stop all of us at 14 from stealing their dad's truck when they rode on vacation. Going for a joyride.
I knew I recognized you from somewhere.
The only thing that caught me was when I was backing the truck up. He had a cap on the back of it, and I couldn't see where I was backing up, and I ran over the bush by the corner of the house, and I had to make up a story of how that got run over. But yeah, that's the only thing that caught me out. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had any idea.
Easy.
And the best time to come out to your parents that you stole, your dad's truck, is at a neighborhood Christmas party with all the neighbors around because they can't yell at you.
My parents still don't know what I did.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, what do you got to share, sir?
All right. So I am going to share all the games from my favorite game publisher. So all of them are going to be Sierra games.
Oh, yeah.
And the
nice.
reason is because in junior high, kind of when I had my first real good set of friends, we devised a scheme where each of I think there was 4 or 5 of us would buy a different Sierra game, and then we would copy it amongst that group so that we could get all of these Sierra games.
We're recording this, right? We're recording this.
Al Lowe is going to come for you, Jeremy.
To quote Eric, Jeremy, I thought I recognized you from somewhere.
But yeah, so we had this kind of piracy ring set up amongst us, and each of us had like a different series or whatever. And the reason I also really like Sierra games is just I know the quality isn't as good as a LucasArts game, but like a Lucas game took forever to come out. Like they did like 2 a year or maybe 1 a year, whereas like a Sierra game you would get like basically 1 a month, like 12 or more games a year. Anyway, so I'm gonna so just real quick at the beginning, I'm gonna go with their adventure games, and then I'm gonna go to their alternate title things. But here's a couple of my favorite Sierra adventure games, and those are gonna be Space Quest 3,
Yeah,
of course, Pirates of Castellon,
the one with the best music.
Yep, Gabriel Knight, which I think is probably their best adventure game. King's Quest 6, the CD-ROM version, because it was the first one that had, really good voice acting. They had a song, had multimedia features on the CD that you could, in Windows 3.1, you could actually watch some behind the scenes videos, which was really cool. And then Leisure Suit Larry 3.
Larry.
So those are my just real quick adventure game Sierras, but I'm gonna go with the rest of them are gonna be kind of their you forget Sierra made these games. So one of the earliest and probably one of my favorite DOS arcade games, from the early era would be Thexter, which was you're a mech, right? You transform from a spaceship into this giant robot and would shoot things with your laser cannons. And this was one of my favorite games of that style. This I think I played so much, and it's kind of, I guess, Pac-Man-esque, but it is Oils Well.
Not heard of that.
If you've not played Oils Well, it's one of the best. You're a pipe at the top with a grabber on it, and you have to go down and kind of eat these pellets that are in the pipes. But the longer you extend yourself, the more open you are for things hitting your pipe, and if it hits your pipe, then you die. So it's kind of like a Snake, like Snake meets Pac-Man. But yeah, it's really a really fun little game. And then they made this board game, basically, called Jones in the Fast Lane.
Yeah.
Jones in the Fast Lane is, I guess, Monopoly, Game of Life-esque. You go around, you buy things, I don't know. It was a really cool game. I played this one a ton. And then probably one of the best games I think ever made is The Incredible Machine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Puzzle
So good.
solving, just fun. So anyway, those are my DOS picks for
What do you do in that last game, Jeremy?
An
never
Incredible
played.
Machine.
Yeah.
It basically you have to solve a bunch of different puzzles. So it'll be like you have a bowling ball and you have to get it into a basketball net, and then you have a bunch of items that you can use to make that happen, like a trampoline and some ramps. And so then the bowling ball will fall into a trampoline, and then you try to bounce it up to get it into the basketball hoop.
It's a physics game and Rube Goldberg
It's
kind
like,
of
thing.
thing.
It's really, really fun. And shockingly, this is the only game, like a retro game, that like my son will regularly play. Like he loves this game. Like if he loses screen time on anything else, he's like, hey, how about we fire up that 486 and play some Incredible Machine? Let's do it.
Yay!
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I wasn't
really sure what to pick. I didn't really pick a top 5 necessarily, but I picked 5 games that I just wanted to kind of showcase here. So let's see if this works. So we're gonna go.
I am not a cat. We can proceed.
Here. All right. So I'm going to borrow some video footage from some people here. This is arcade volleyball, and then I have early memories playing this game in grade school, and on a school computer. I was in a very underfunded church school that had very old computers even for the time. We're talking like early mid 90s, and so CGA games like this were the ones that we got to mess around with.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's a very, very simple one. Apparently it came out in 1988 originally for the Commodore 64. It was ported in 89 to MS-DOS. So pretty self-explanatory there. Coincidentally, I also chose Vexter to showcase, as that was another game that we were able to run on the machines at school. This is the EGA version, but I believe we played it in CGA mode, but this one was really addicting. Let's see if I can get it. There it goes. And, just very simple, early side-scrolling game in the DOS era, which was quite a novelty at this time. Not a lot of games were able to do it, but it's just easy to learn, pick up, and play. And then I wanted to mention also, I think Amber dropped this name at one point, Ultima Underworld, 1 or 2, either one really. I can't say I played this series sub-series extensively, but what was really neat about it was that it was a very sophisticated engine at that time, and one that had, some may argue, more advanced pseudo 3D rendering than contemporaries from id Software like Doom, because it came out around that time. And the engine was extremely capable. It was able to texture map walls, floors, ceilings. The engine allowed for transparency, as it says here on Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. And 45-degree angle walls. Just, this kind of tech was, it was just starting to emerge, and this was one of the first examples of it. 3D objects as well in the game. So very technically impressive. And then going to one of my really early videos on my own channel here, I'm going to mention Skyroads. And Skyroads is, again, it's another fairly simplistic game, but it involves just trying to get through.
I remember playing
its
this.
track. The color of the road correlated with different characteristics such as friction. Sometimes they would be hot, so it would overheat your ship, or you could refuel your ship on some of the different colored tracks. So very quick, very challenging game. But I remember I played this as a kid on my first computer, which was at the time, very old IBM 701C, the famous butterfly keyboard ThinkPad, and played that game quite a bit. And then, of course, for the last one, I have to mention, yep, I'm going to go with Quake again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, we got gameplay this time, though.
Because of course I am, right? It's extremely washed out, because this is filming on my the laptop that I was using at the time for DOS games, and which is another IBM variant, the 760XL. But I mean, this is it's barely a DOS game, right? I mean, it was kind of in that transitional time, and extremely important for 3D graphics in general in the industry, which is of course my reason for, a big reason for why I like and admire it so much. It's God, my gameplay is terrible here. Anyway, we're just gonna pause that. But yeah, so and we gotta stop sharing. There we go. So yeah, that was an important game for so many reasons. I mean, it was kind of the game to really start the craze of 3D acceleration, really get it off the ground in a way no prior game truly had. Really important. And that aesthetic, that gothic, kind of mechanical look to that game has never been replicated in any game since, in my opinion. So really, really cool.
Very cool.
Okay. I guess it's my turn. I'm going to take you back to yesteryear. Let's see.
Careful, you can only plagiarize so many lyrics from the video game nerd guy.
I was gonna say, are we going back to like the stone and stick era?
Even older.
Ball and
wow.
The secret's to bang the rocks together. So hang on a second while I organize my screens. I've never used the actual screen sharing feature of this thing. So give me a second. Hang on. I'm being paged. I tell you what, why don't
I just need a minute.
Britt, go ahead if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
Look at what
let me present. Share screen. Okay. Everybody sees what that's not great.
Yeah.
Get back there. Okay. All right. So let me start. Let me start at the beginning. Okay. So the way that I ended up arranging these and thinking about these is chronological. So what the first series of games are what I played on a NEC multi-speed, which was a Turbo XT released in like 1986 or maybe like 88 or 89. Dual 720K floppy disks, so I had my favorite boot disk that gave me enough conventional memory to run things. So Moonbase is a lunar colony simulator. So think of like SimCity based on the moon. So you set up a communication station that you can use to talk to planet Earth, and you set up habitats for people and balance, set up greenhouses and power. Nuclear fission was in that game, which I thought was really cool. This ended up, I probably played this in maybe second or third grade, so it was 6 or 7. And here's a screenshot. This is in beautiful VGA. I would have played in CGA grayscale, non-backlit on my NEC multi-speed.
The game is set in the past in 2020 there.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a historical game.
Right.
It is, yeah. And evidently we have some habitats and I think this is this creates like helium, and you can set up miners that will go around your planet or around the moon and collect helium to deliver back to your moon base.
All right, everyone. We're miners on the moon. No.
We carry a harpoon.
This is available. I couldn't find like a GOG link. I evidently didn't play the most popular games back in the day, but it was games that I was able to get as a second grader playing on a Turbo XT. So the next game is Pacific Islands. And this is a tank simulator game. So this one, I ended up having to make a photocopy of the code book, so I could remember what
Oh,
like
yeah.
an Abrams tank looked like, and you had to do that to cut down on people copying floppies and stuff. But I lost the original manual, or it was torn up, and so I ended up having to make multiple copies of the manual in order for me to take it with me, because it's a laptop, and my parents let me bring the laptop to keep me quiet in the car. This one is on Moby Games. I couldn't find much about this online. It's not on GOG either. So that rounds up my XT era. And then I got a 46 with a CD-ROM drive. And I remember having to put in the sound card and the IRQs, and for an 8-9-year-old, that was really extremely complicated work. But I finally did it, and I loaded up Dragon Lore. And Dragon Lore, the way I got it was from those. Do you all remember those plastic, like accordion style CD compilations that you bought at like the local grocery store? That's where I ended up. That's where I ended up getting this, and that was one of my favorite games. I beat it twice when I was growing up, and I ended up getting a strategy guide to kind of read through it and beat it again, maybe at 2019, 2020, something like that. This one is available for a low price of 59 cents on GOG, and it's it's pixelated because it's like 320 by 240, and then the story starts as you are given an assignment from your dad to go and find. He gives you like a bowl and a knife to start off with, and you have to trade things, and you find things along the way. It's like one of those point and click adventure games thing. And then so CD-ROM drive ended up getting a 46 DX4 100. And that's when I played Doom. Doom ran great on this on this machine, and of course everybody knows about Doom. I shouldn't.
Everyone now hears E1M1 in their head.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is the first mention of Doom yet.
I know.
I thought for sure it would have been mentioned.
Well, I was going to mention it, but I'm like, oh, somebody else is going to mention it for me.
Surprisingly,
so
I never played Doom on DOS. I played it on the 32X. And then I played Doom 2 on the Mac.
Oh.
See, I never had Doom 2, but I played the original Doom. And my hard drive I had all my games on a zip drive.
Ah, nice.
So that was a parallel port zip drive. And that's when I found and installed and got totally inundated with managing Slackware Linux on zip drive too. So that was fun and ultimately a waste of time. But
been there,
and then
done that.
Star Wars TIE Fighter.
It's our entire hobby right there.
Yep.
Oh, TIE Fighter.
Yeah, and this game, I actually, somebody else mentioned a copy sharing floppy ring, and this one I discovered a friend of mine had it on his computer, and I said, I don't care what I have to do. I'll give you anything that you want. I want this game on floppies. And the trustworthy copy machine came in handy again, because I think this game required you to enter in some answers, I believe, in order to play, to start up the game. It is available on GOG. Awesome price of $349. And then honorable mention is SimCity 2000. I played this game for years and years and years, and never beat it. It's unbeatable. You just figure out how to make a less crappy city, at least for my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my top 5 from my era of DOS computing.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, sorry. I got discombobulated because my wife came in to tell me something. Anyway, so yesteryear. Let me present. Share screen. Okay. Why isn't it sure? Oh, there it is. Okay. Starfleet Battles. This is not a computer game, but this is where I started gaming. It's like a it's not D&D. It's more of a Panzer Shrek kind of a paper game. But it does have a tie-in with DOS because there were aids that came out later. A lot of this was very popular in the 1970s. You know, there was an early version. I can't remember the name of it in '77 that came out, and I played it in high school. It tells you how old I am. We spent the entire year using lunch to play this game, and we had a geography class right after lunch. You know, one of the guys in the group was a dungeon master, so he was the smart guy in the group. He taught us what we needed for the class, and the instructor let us skip the class as long as we took the quiz every week. So we got an hour and a half in every day playing this game. Anyway,
Nice.
there was DOS program game aids that came out later because the energy allocation sheet for your ship and everything was really complicated, and the rules got so ridiculous after a while that nobody played it anymore. I still have my commander or captain's edition set, so and nobody to play it with. Anyway, because the scenario would take a year to play through, but there were some computer programs that were written to help with it. And then, of course, this was the first computer game I ever played. It was on a PDP-11. For you guys in the audience, that was an old mini computer. It was
awesome.
Yeah, time sharing computer with we had terminals, and I was kind of looking through it, and it was Unix based, and there was adventure, so you could play Colossal Cave Adventure, and it's been ported to just about everything, and it's a real text adventure. In fact, I have a DOS box version of it that I've got running that you probably aren't going to be able to see because it's such a tiny screen. But it's right here. Do you want instructions? Yes. And it tells you the instructions and stuff, and you can say go north. It'll take you north in the usual text adventure, but it is the original.
They actually had this. You could play this at Vintage Computer Festival Midwest.
Yeah.
At least last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I as far as text adventure games go, I recommend it. It's actually pretty decent. After that, of course, this is during the era when you go to computer shows where you could buy PCs and stuff, and there'd be that guy that had all of the shareware discs that you could buy, and you could pick up things like Wolfenstein. So that's how I got this pre-internet, of course, and played that. One of the games that came out that used the same engine was Heretic. It wasn't very good, but you played what you could get your hands on. And then Warcraft, tied to Tides of Darkness.
Yeah.
I probably put the most hours on this game of any of the DOS games I played. And I never played, with other people. It was always solo games. But I used it as just a time killer to do things.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah.
Stack find a choke point and then just stack it with 3 farms deep and they will be hacking on your farms
Right.
forever.
Yep.
While you're just inside building more units.
Yep. Yeah, there's strategies definitely for it, but that was a lot of fun. And then of course, Doom and Duke Nukem. I mean, they're classics. You got to put them in there. I've got
Duke
a couple
Nukem
of,
or Duke Nukem 3D, or the Duke series.
The Duke series, I guess. I think I played Duke Nukem 3D. Was the first one, right?
Nope. Because
No.
it's side scrollers, sort of like Commander.
Oh,
Keen.
not the. No,
Yeah.
I always did 3D. I
Okay.
never played the side scrollers.
Okay.
I tried Commander Keen for a little
Mhm.
bit, and some of the other games. Not a DOS game, but I was heavily into Linux for a period of time. And when my daughter was, very impressionable, and you could tell her this is what a real computer is. And she played Abe's Amazing Adventure, which came out. It's a it's a Windows as well as Linux based. All the Tux Racer and all that kind of stuff. Frozen Bubble, that was a great one. So we played all those games. But I just as an honorable mention, I wanted to point out something. Let me stop sharing here. This was her favorite game. It's Windows based.
Oh yeah.
But PB Bear's birthday party, we wore this out, and I kept it because just so I could show it to her. You want to play this now?
Is it on CD or?
Yep, it's on CD.
Okay.
And it's a little, stop animation thing where you can read along with PB Bear, and you touch the letters or the words, and they read it out and stuff. I also have Red Alert and
Nice.
Command and Conquer, a couple other, but those are Windows games, not DOS games. So it's kind of I didn't really spend a lot of time. I didn't have my own personal computer until long after college. Couldn't afford them. And then I was busy raising kids, so that took up a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, very cool. And I have recorded everybody's suggestions so that way that I can put it in the doobly-doo and people can look up some of these titles. I had an idea for another segment that we would do after this, but I think it might be more interesting to talk about some of the titles that people put in chat, and then some of the things that we didn't mention, but would absolutely be somebody's favorite game out there conceivably. Does that sound like maybe a better segment than what I originally pitched to you guys?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's my stream. It's what we're doing anyway. So
I hate it. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm going to throw some of these out, and people can give thumbs up, thumbs down on whether they would consider these to be maybe a classic that we didn't mention. And if anybody had anything to throw in on it, feel free. So Under a Killing Moon.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic game. Like kind of one of the first FMV sort of like strictly kind of adventure things.
4 CDs, 4 CD-ROMs.
4 CD-ROMs.
Wow.
Yeah. Or in kind of in that vein, Phantasmagoria.
Yeah. 7
That was another
8 CDs.
Yeah. That was an expensive title.
Remember that was a marketing strategy? Like now on 16 CDs, and it was like supposed to be like a mark of like a better game.
Well, it beat the 60 floppy drives or floppy disks that you would have had to have prior.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like, look how much money we spent on this game.
Please buy it, for the love of God.
Seventh guest. Yep.
Yeah, Seventh Guest is one that I had on my list of like, can't believe somebody didn't mention it.
Yeah.
It was the puzzles. The puzzles in that game were just like, what? Really?
Yeah. A couple people mentioned Myst in the chat, but Myst is a Windows game, or really it's a Macintosh game, and then it's ported to Windows.
It's a hypercard game.
Hypercard game.
Yeah.
We don't use the M word around here. Carry on.
So I had so we brought up the 7th Guest, 11th Hour. Don't forget the sequel, the terrible sequel to the 7th Guest. System Shock, the System Shock series.
Yep.
We would not have BioShock or any of that universe if we didn't have System Shock first. The Mech Warrior series.
Classic.
Yeah, I do like me some Mech Warrior 2. That's a lot of fun. Lemmings was brought up in the chat, and nobody said Lemmings.
Yes.
I think Lemmings
So
is
much.
great.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Was there any system that did not have Lemmings? That must be one of the most ported games, right? I mean, it was ported to everything.
I think
There's one
the
of-
TigerGame.com didn't have it. Shut
No,
but
It's one of those
Well-
games that I played on the Mac because, my family was a Mac household for so long. I didn't get a PC until my uncle gifted me a 486-33 in like 1994, which is why my list of games is so late in the DOS era.
There's Wing Commander.
Yeah, nobody mentioned Wing
Yeah.
Commander.
I
Yeah.
wrote down the
Commander,
Wing Commander
yeah.
series.
Yep.
Now that's a tough one to play because it's not FPS locked. So you have if you have more than like a 386 DX, you are like it's the game. The level is over and it just started. 'Cause
Well, I'm glad to know that because I'm not playing it on anything faster than.
yeah,
I remember going to see Wing Commander in the movie theaters.
I'm so
And they
sorry.
released the
Moving on.
movie.
Yeah.
Moving
Really.
But The Adventures of Willie Beamish.
Yeah.
That was kind of like it was like a friendly adventure game that you could get your parents to maybe buy for you, even though you could die in the game.
My friend and I were upset because we had started writing a game called Kids Quest. And then, of course, Willie Beamish came out like 6 months later. And we're like, oh, they stole our idea. Not understanding how long it takes to develop a game.
Let me mark some of these other ones off here. Carmageddon.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
good
yeah.
one.
Classic.
That game was
Classic.
great for
I-
vehicular mayhem.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
that game was, to me, one of the earlier ones with just a sandbox, if you will. You could race, but who the heck raced? I mean, it was just
No.
fun to explore the level and find the power-ups and wreck everyone.
Yeah, there's only
Yeah.
one racing game I think we mentioned.
Mhm.
Yeah, just Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Neverhood.
That one.
Anybody play that?
Just the demo version. I don't think anyone can afford to own that anymore.
No, nobody can
That's gotta
afford to
be-
own it now. But back in the day, I had a friend who had it, and it was like, if you've never seen it, it's kind of like claymation.
Oh,
And
I
it's-
remember that box.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
So I
great.
think a lot of people looked at it and were like, "Hey, this looks like a lot of fun," but then nobody bought it. Shadow Warrior. That was mentioned in the chat.
Get some wang.
Sorry. It does a lot of the humor in it does not hold up, and
It does not.
I mean, just
No.
for obvious reasons. But I remember that they made like a modern sequel, and they had to dial all that back. And I think anybody that came to that was expecting sort of kind of not to get too deep on it, but it was expecting that. It was like the developers were very much like, hey, we're very conscious about where this started, but this is where we're at now. So they did not seemingly lean into it like the Duke Nukem people did.
Not as much.
Yeah.
He's more like, I think that Wang in the new one, right, is more like self-obsessed, a little more Duke Nukem in that sense. But
Mhm.
it's actually not I've only played the first one of the new ones, and it's actually not a bad game. So
What about, and I cannot believe no one said this, the Fallout series.
Never got into that.
Rick, you dropped the ball.
I know.
It's another one I played on Mac.
I actually, I think we all have these little blind spots of certain game series that are legendary. I never owned, and I, of course, deeply regret not buying Fallout 1 or 2 now, considering all the big box games I bought, because that's also unobtainium now. But I have never played Fallout 1 or 2, and I'm out of here.
It's isometric.
I know.
Isometric. That's why you should love it.
It's everything I love. So
Just to pause it for a sec. Have a good night, Francois.
Oh yeah.
He really needs to sleep.
Yep.
Oh no.
He's in France, so
Cool.
it's like 5
Go to
o'clock.
sleep.
or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's
Yeah.
well, it's already
Yeah.
tomorrow. Just stay up. Yeah, it's like jumping out of an airplane and like being like 10 feet off the ground and like saying, "Well, should I pull my chute?" You never fallen from 10 feet before. You're fine. All right. What about this? And this was mentioned in chat. Scorched Earth.
Oh yeah.
Played it
Yeah.
all the
Play that?
time.
It's
That was the
yeah,
thing on
it's
school computers. That
tanks
so
and you shoot your stuff and you cluster bombs and all kinds of fun
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
That was a VGA game that didn't really have very high requirements.
surprisingly deep though. There's a lot of weapons in that game and a lot of like strategy and everything. It's kind of like a precursor to Worms in that sense. So
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Worms.
Worms.
Yeah.
especially
So good.
Worms World Party. A lot of fun. Alley Cat. Speaking of CGA
I almost did early DOS CGA games, and Alley Cat was on my list, but then I shifted to just all Sierra games. But yeah, we had Alley Cat on the original IBM PC.
That was IBM published, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun arcade style. Like before, I think they realized what PC gaming could be. That it was more like, arcade games and things. I did like you could go in the house and kind of explore the bookshelves and pull items and things like that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, so there was a little more
Basically just
depth
a
to it.
series of mini games.
Yeah.
Like you go in the window and then you try not to get hit by the broom and knock the glass off the table and
All right, another one that's kind of like early kind of era. Hugo's House of Horrors. Anybody play that? It's kind of an early adventure game for PC. Oh wow, I'm the only one. It's like a horror game, and it's like a kind of a like Maniac Mansion, like the original Maniac Mansion, where kind of like it was very clunky, like the early Scum engine. It's not a Scum game, but it is its own thing. If you've never seen it, Google it, and it's just something that kind of at the time was a big deal, I guess. Magic Carpet. Anybody play Magic Carpet?
Good old Magic Carpet.
That got ported to everything and its uncle back in the day, but I first played it on DOS. I thought it was quite a bit of fun.
That was
Terminal Velocity.
yeah, I'll say that felt very similar there.
Yeah.
All right, writing all these down. Populous. No one said Populous.
Populous.
So how do you play Populous?
It's isometric. You tell me.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I click a whole bunch of stuff and people die in volcanoes, and then I'm turning the game off.
It just
God,
dawned
though.
on me.
It's so weird. I got a Super Nintendo port.
Yeah. I just stared at one of my computers and I realized there was a game I should have mentioned, honorable mention, not because of its rating, but because it's actually only a couple years old, and that would be Planet X3.
Oh, Dave Murray's got enough. Got enough press over that. Actually, it is quite a bit of fun.
It is a fun game, and it's a good example of what some of those platforms could do, especially some when he added the support for some of those more obscure video card formats that not much came out for.
It ensures it will be in every DOS video ever made on YouTube from this point forward.
Yeah.
Any hardware tested is going to use that game now.
My XT clone has a video card that's compatible with Plantronics Color Plus mode. That's like
nice.
one of the few games I can actually play in that mode. So yes.
Another one, the Jedi Knight series. Right. It's Dark
Jedi Knight was
Dark Forces, but
but the sequel was on Windows, right? There was even Jedi Knight runnable on DOS.
I thought
it was Quake 3 engine, so no.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2.
Yeah, that's this. Wasn't that the Sith engine though? Like their own proprietary engine, weird stuff.
Never mind.
Like the janky Katarn with the disconnected limbs and all that.
Well, I've definitely got one like the Sim series. I know we brought up Sim City, but like Simcopter, Sim Ant, Sim Farm, Sim
Sim Earth.
everything.
Yeah.
Sim
literally
Tower.
everything.
Sim
Sim,
Farm.
sim.
Some personal watercraft, some base religion.
Water
You
World.
know,
Oh wait,
yeah.
that was a movie.
Was there an actual Simcopter though? To be
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
My youngest
Yeah.
had all those sim games.
Best part was being able to fly in your SimCity 2000 city in Simcopter and also in what was it? Streets of SimCity. I had to look at the box.
Yep.
But I think sorry for the Jedi Knight screw up, but I will make up for it with this one that nobody mentioned, Gorilla Basic.
Very important.
Everybody
bananas.
played that one.
Yeah.
It was hard to escape.
I'm actually surprised no one mentioned Tomb Raider.
Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I guess that was a DOS game. I was
Mhm.
for
Yep.
some reason
It
thinking
was.
that was Windows,
Glad.
but that was a DOS glide game. Yes,
Mhm.
Very
one
cool.
of the few.
All right. We are coming up on the 2-hour mark. I think that's just for everybody's. We've got some good viewership, but I think just for everybody's, especially people on like the East Coast, I don't want to hold you any longer than we have to. So, how about we go through and just do some very quick, shameless self promotion, starting with my good buddy, Uncle Mike.
Shameless self-promotion. I'm going to publish a week's worth of long videos in the week between Christmas and New Year's. Sort of a change of channel pace.
Amber.
And we can find you where, Mike?
Yeah. Where do I find you?
You can find me at Uncle Mike Retro on YouTube.
Sweet.
And still on Twitter, one of the few remaining.
One of the holdouts. You can find me on YouTube at TechAmber. Of course, you can also search for Tech Ambrosia. I've got a vestigial page still on Twitter until Elon kicks me off, and I'm also on Mastodon on tech.lgbt.
And Rick from Rick's Random Retro, just Google that. But I'm on YouTube where I post a random assortment of long form videos and also live stream every Thursday. So feel free to drop in there. I'm also on Twitter still, I guess, and on Instagram and all that good stuff. So just Google me.
I would also like to promote Rick's channel. No.
Everyone said this. No.
Right. You could Google Pixel Pipes, but it'll come up with something completely unrelated, so don't do that. But I'm on YouTube, not actively at the moment, but there are some videos there you can watch if you want to. And I'm still clinging for some reason to Twitter, and so I'm on there as well. And I have a Pixel Talk Discord server, which is free for anyone to join. And it's a pretty lively community of retro enthusiasts, so definitely check it out.
And I'm Jeremy with Jeremy's Retro Bar. I haven't been doing a lot of videos this year, but I hope to get back in it once I take care of all the stuff around the house, because, you know, that stuff takes precedence, unfortunately. But yeah, I plan on doing a lot actually in the next year, because I plan on actually building the bar out and building a lot more stuff for that. So that'll be cool. So just look for Jeremy's Retro Bar on YouTube. And then I'm Jeremy's Retro Bar at bitbang.social on Mastodon.
Cool.
I am Justin D. Morgan. You can find me on YouTube at the link that I have conveniently put right here, just right below my absolutely awesome customized Doscember hoodie that you can get if you just simply always point a webcam at yourself, run OBS, and put an overlay on it. See, no need to spend that pesky money on it. Just use an OBS overlay. And I will be hopefully doing some videos very soon for Doscember on things such as this really awesome Visa Local Bus IDE cache controller right here
Mm.
Nice.
that has a 286 processor on it.
What?
Ron, you want to blur that or no?
So if you want to know more about that and a few other DOS goodies that I have in store, well, go subscribe. I'm trying to get to 256 subscribers, like sooner rather than later.
I know. Justin's got some good content. Definitely subscribe.
I'm Trina of Trina's Technobabble. You can find me on the YouTubes at Trina's Technobabble as well as Twitter. I mostly stream. I am going to start doing a series soon because I also own my own computer on the side hustle, own computer repair business and sales. And somebody suggested that I do how do I flip a computer? Like actually talk about the process of
You got to
going
get
from buying
underneath it. It's all about leverage.
Not quite that flipping. Making money on it. And I was going to do a December video, but it turned out the CMOS battery was bad in the laptop that I got from work. And then I bought 63 laptops. So
I hate it when that happens.
So I kind of got waylaid into trying to get these organized and sorted. So
Man, you can make some
But
furniture out of them.
Well, it's interesting. So somebody came yesterday to buy a laptop, and it didn't even have a screen, but they were just using it for a prop for a movie. And I'm like, do you need more props for movies? I have lots of non-working laptops.
Yeah.
Like, take a box. But she said she would contact me. So, but I'm going to be doing a stream this week because I have a customer's laptop or desktop that I got to build. So I'm going to be streaming doing a build to show the Mac folks out there how to build a PC.
Britt.
Yep, I'm just a regular guy from now. You can find me I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. My handle is BD1308. I do have a domain purchased, and I'm getting ready to set up like AWS infrastructure with like Terraform and all this like SRE stuff. So in 2023, I hope to have like an actual channel and stuff. More to be announced in the coming future.
Great. And make sure to stop by and say hi to Britt at Kansas Fest 2023.
Yes,
you are now committed to being there. It's
Yeah.
been announced, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's probably legal entanglements if you don't show up.
And
now.
I'll be bringing a bunch of goodies from my collection too
Very
for the
cool.
garage giveaway.
I've got a PC Junior. If you can
Yes.
if you can wait that long, I'll get a PC Junior for you.
I can wait any amount of days for a PC Junior.
So I'm Eric from Eric's Edge. I fiddle around with programming mostly and also do some ham-fisted hardware repair and even attempt to rebuild batteries occasionally, poorly. But anyway, so you could learn from me by not doing what I do. No, I'm kidding. So I'm doing a series on HyperCard programming that's going to take quite a while, but I also am dabbling into doing some work with the Apple II. So you can see that down here. I've also got a Quadra 610 that I'm going to be putting AUX on and doing some C programming with it. I've got the 2CI that already has AUX on it. But I also dabble in, I'm learning assembly for the Apple II now so that I could do some stuff with that. All of this will eventually end up being streamed once I get my act together on that. So as you can see, I'm distracted by Shiny. Ooh, look. And also just a public service notice, kids, don't go out and buy vintage computer equipment. Just join a group like this. They'll give them to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because we want more young people involved in this hobby.
Absolutely.
And I need a hole on my shelf, so that's
right.
Speaking of that, actually, I do have. There's a high school student who buys all my old Mac stuff from me, and I asked him one time, I'm like, "What do you consider old?" And he said, "From like Power Max down." So every time I get something in, I'm like, "Hey, I got this. Do you want it?" And I give it to him for a really good deal. But he's
awesome.
one of the kids that And like another one who's like 14 or 15, and he's building like Pentium 4, Pentium 2 machines.
Awesome.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Cool.
I'm always surprised by younger people getting into the hobby and studying the history and getting to learn more about it. It's kind of interesting to see it happen.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. Again, I'm Ron with Ron's Computer Videos. You obviously found me, or otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? But you can find me on the YubTubs there at Ron's Comp Vids. I'm on Twitter, Ron's Comp Vids. I'm on Mastodon. I'm on the bitbang.social, Ron's Comp Vids. I've also got a Patreon, Ron's Comp Vids. There's a pattern. There's just a pattern that's formed over time to make things easy for people. But I wanted to actually, we hit on something really great here at the very end, which is about encouraging people to stay in the hobby, because we've got these memories, but these memories are only going to last so long. So what I want to encourage you to do is to keep that spirit of giving going into the new year. If you can, oh, poor Eric. If you can,
Give the man a quadrostat.
I know.
I love it. Ron trying to be all serious about giving stuff, and Eric's just dying.
I know. It's all right. He was thinking about all the free stuff going out the door, and he was like, Elizabeth! Oh!
I know.
But keep that spirit of giving going into the new year. And if you can help young people get into the hobby, reach out. Because if you may not have what they need, I guarantee there's somebody here that would say, for the cost of shipping, we can help you out. Like there's a young guy in St. Louis that Steve and I have been reaching out and helping. Zeke the Geek, who's a young guy who's getting in the old Macintosh kind of stuff. But there are people that are looking to try to get started on like PC stuff and Amiga stuff and Commodore stuff, and just do what you can in the new year to kind of keep this hobby going. So thanks. But again, I want to thank everybody that showed up here tonight. Mike, Amber, Rick, Trina, Justin, Jeremy, Nathan, Eric, and Britt for taking time out of their Saturday night to hang out with us. So if it wasn't for people that gave a crap about this hobby would have been gone a long time ago. So it's good to have people that want to see things continue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the outro. If everybody here would just wait for just a second for after the stream ends so we can say final goodbyes. But I want to thank everybody.
I just want to touch on what Starbuck Tech asked. He said define young.
Oh,
and
I would say
like high school and younger.
I would say 9 to 99.
Okay.
Good. I'm glad you included me.
Yeah, because there's always somebody that's trying to break into this hobby and they don't know where to start.
Yep.
And if somebody's reaching out, then take the time. Take the time. So thank you, everybody, once again. And again, everybody hang around here after the credits. And I'm going to go ahead and play the outro. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Night.